briefing at a rather short notice. I'm just going to speak to basically 4 issues because I believe that the Nigeria public is entitled to know, and APC members and APC family members have a duty to inform. And as the chairman of the APC, I have responsibilities to explain and to clear any issue which, if not cleared, might lead to some misunderstanding, because we recognize the fact that we are not just accountable to the members of the All Progressive Congress. The All Progressive Congress is also accountable to the Nigerian people, who are the ultimate masters in a democracy. Over the past couple of days, there have been some issues that I think I want to comment on. The first is the judgment which was delivered recently by the Supreme Court. As a political party, we respect the judiciary. We also appreciate that, in truth and in fact, democracy is basically about celebration of the rule of law, not rule of might. If it is rule of might, people like me, who are both vertically and horizontally challenged, we can't survive. So, as a party, we believe in the rule of law. And based on this commitment, which is not really a choice, we are obliged to respect the rule of law. And at the heart of that is total obedience to the letter and the spirit of judicial findings. And judicial findings are not meant to be convenient. In a democracy, they are orders which are meant to be obeyed. Therefore, the judgment by the Supreme Court, in which, from the first page to the last page of that judgment, is very clear that the Supreme Court has nullified the world congresses that were done by my predecessors in Rivers State. It also nullified the state and the local government congresses that were done, because according to the findings of the Supreme Court, those congresses were done in spite of a subsisting court order. What is important is that, as things stand, the highest court of the land has pronounced that those congresses did not meet the requirement of the law, and therefore they are not valid. As a law-abiding party, we have accepted the decisions of the Supreme Court, and we will call a meeting in no distant future of all the stakeholders in Rivers State to prepare them and to put the necessary machinery in place to conduct fresh world congresses across all the wards in Rivers State, to conduct local government congresses in all the local governments in Rivers State, and of course thereafter to conduct the state executive congress in line with the provisions of the Constitution of the All Progressive Congress. This we have to do in full obedience to the judgment of the Supreme Court. Number 2, I also want to apologize publicly, because reading through the court judgment, the court clearly was, to put it mildly, was shocked that the High Court, where the matter originated, that some persons besieged the court in a way that, according to the Supreme Court, could have undermined the security and the security of the court or an action that could have tantamounted to intimidating the court. I want to state on behalf of the All Progressive Congress that as a party, we do not believe that the courts should be attacked by anyone, regardless of your grievances. The courts are there to listen to all parties and to deliver judgment. And in the real world, you don't always get judgment that suits you, but in a democracy, all judgments are to be obeyed until they are vacated by a superior court. But we are not able to accept responsibility that the evasion of the court was done by members of the APC. We have not recruited thugs, and we will not recruit thugs for the purpose of canvassing issues before a law court. What we do as a responsible party is to brief counsels who, in our judgment, are competent to canvass issues before any of the courts to which we drag people or to which we are dragged. Resort to thuggery is not part of the options. But let me also remind everyone that these actions in question took place before I was elected the chairman of the All Progressive Congress. I am not defending them because they occur under my tenure. But I do appreciate that there's only one political party. Leaders of that party will come and go, but the political party remain. And I inherit both the good, the bad, the ugly side of whatever has happened or did not happen before I became the chairman. It is on this basis that I accept these responsibilities. So we apologize to the court if any embarrassments have been caused the court, even as we cannot accept that those people were members of the APC. Whoever did it, whether they were party members, they were just hoodlums, they were just busybody, every right-thinking Nigerian cannot accept that our courts are intimidated or their activities disrupted. Number two, a lot of issues have been raised by some governors. And I would like to comment on that of Ogun State. And I will invite you as resourceful journalists and media practitioners, whether electronic or print. These are not issues that are between me as a person and any other person. If I speak to the culture of APC, it is not a secret document. If we raise issues about the provisions of the Electoral Act, they are not classified legislations. They are things that any one of you can, on your own, obtain a copy, read through it, and reach your own conclusion as to whether or not my position is right or wrong. In the APC Constitution, the only body, the only organ authorized by our party to conduct primaries is the National Working Committee, of which I am privileged to be the chairman. But there are processes that must be followed before the exercise of these powers or responsibilities. Namely, our National Executive Council met and, in its wisdom, decided to invoke the relevant provisions of our Constitution, which, among other things, allow us to conduct either direct primaries, in which every member can carry members of our party is entitled to vote, or to do indirect primaries, in which case it is done by delegates. These delegates may well be people who have been elected at the ward level, at the local government level, and, of course, at the state level. Now, in the case of Ogun State, I will talk slowly so that you don't miss any of the points. Governor Ibikule Amoso, like any other governor, where we have governors, and leaders where we don't have governors, went back in accordance with the resolution of the National Executive Council to convey a meeting of the State Executive Council as directed by the National Executive Council. And those meetings were meant to include not just the State Executive Council. The NEC, in its wisdom, said it should also include critical stakeholders. And for the purpose of primaries, there can be no question that anyone who is seeking election to any of the offices is obviously a stakeholder in the process, particularly when the only matter on agenda is how those primaries will be conducted. And in order to ensure that this process is done cleanly, there are no manipulations, the NEC, in its wisdom, also resolved that when a state has opted for any of the options, the state is obliged, the state executive is obliged to ensure that majority of the members signed the resolution, not just one or two people signing for and on behalf of the others. This was to avoid a situation where one or two may purport to act on behalf of the others. On a good day when you have a meeting, the signature of the chairman and the secretary of the minutes will suffice. But because our party was determined to transparency and ensuring that this process is free of manipulation, it resolved that every member that attend that meeting, at least a simple majority of those attending, must sign the resolution. Now, Governor Musu went back to Abeokuta, like other governors went to their various state capitals. In fairness to him, he conveyed a meeting that substantially meets the requirement, as envisaged by or as resolved by the NEC, namely a meeting of the State Executive Council and some of the critical stakeholders. I talk about substantial compliance in the sense that there were people who are supposed to have been invited to those meetings, to that meeting, that were not invited. This includes some former senators who are entitled and who are supposed to be invited.